Grant tapped his butter knife against his water glass and stood beneath the amber lights of Juniper's back dining room. "To Ruth," he said, "a woman who understood that useful things shouldn't sit in drawers." Nora stopped turning the stem of her wine glass. Grant looked directly at her. "I pawned your mother's ring. I used the money to buy Tessa the diamond earrings." "The broker," Nora said. "My mistress," he said, almost gently, as if accuracy were a kindness. Across the table, Elaine gave a startled laugh. "It was smart housekeeping, Nora. That ring was doing absolutely nothing." Nora stayed quiet. 3 hours earlier, Samuel Pike, the jeweler who had appraised the ring for her mother, had called Nora and asked why a man claiming to own it had failed to mention the engraving. "Keep your place." Samuel had kept the appraisal. Grant apparently didn't know that. The waiter arrived with a narrow chocolate cake and 3 forks. He took in Grant standing, Elaine smiling, and Nora's untouched wine. "Should I come back?" "Please," Nora said. He vanished with the speed of a man who had spent years recognizing tables where dessert had become dangerous. Grant sat. "I didn't want you hearing it from someone else." "You brought your mother." Elaine's smile tightened. "I came because this is a family decision. It's our anniversary." "Exactly." Nora looked around the private room she had booked herself 6 weeks ago. She had chosen the table, approved the menu, and moved a retirement party to Thursday so Grant could have the room. The flowers in the low ceramic bowl had come from a vendor Nora used for weddings. Grant had complained that the florist charged too much, then praised the arrangement when he thought the restaurant had provided it free. On the table beside his plate sat a cream-colored envelope with the lender's logo embossed in blue. Nora pointed to it. "What's that?" Grant rested his hand on the envelope. His wedding band made a faint click against the paper. "The revised loan package." Elaine said, "This is why we should all try to remain calm." Nora almost admired the choreography. The toast, the confession, the mother brought in as ballast, the loan documents waiting under Grant's hand. "Tessa found a better space than the one on Clark," Grant said. "The landlord wants an answer by Monday." "How much?" "We've gone over the numbers. You've shown me projections. That's not the same thing. The bank needs both owners committed. I own 40%. And you personally guaranteed the current lease. They want continuity." Nora looked at him. "Did Tessa ask for diamonds as part of the brokerage agreement?" Elaine exhaled through her nose. "Must we be vulgar?" Grant leaned forward. "I bought her earrings because I care about her." There it was, the thing beneath the thing. Not a bribe dressed as an expense, not a foolish gift to impress a broker. He wanted Nora to understand that the diamonds had meaning, as though meaning made the theft cleaner. "How long?" Nora asked. 8 months. Elaine reached for her water. Grant watched Nora as if he had practiced for tears and was now irritated she had skipped her cue. "And you knew?" Nora asked Elaine. "I knew Grant was unhappy." "That wasn't my question." Elaine set down the glass. "I knew about Tessa." The waiter opened the door 2 inches, saw the cake still in his hands, and retreated again. Nora folded her napkin and placed it beside her plate. "Where did you pawn the ring?" Grant's eyes flickered toward Elaine. "Pike's?" he said. Of course, he'd probably found the name on the appraisal before he shredded it. Pike Fine Jewelry occupied a narrow storefront between a tailor and a travel agency, and its brass door still chimed when anyone entered. Samuel's father had designed Ruth's ring in the 70s. Grant had assumed history meant value. He had failed to consider that history also meant records. "How much did you get?" $7,400. Elaine touched Nora's wrist. "The amount isn't important." Nora moved her hand before Elaine could settle her fingers there. "What did the earrings cost?" Grant's jaw shifted. $12,000, he said. "So you pawned my ring for $7,400 and put the rest on the restaurant card." "It's a business card. For the business." "Tessa brought us the location." "She brought you a keychain last Christmas." "Did you sleep with her for that?" "Nora!" Elaine snapped. Grant's face went still. Anger, with him, often arrived as better posture. "I'm trying to be honest with you." "No, honesty would have happened before you took the ring off the saucer." He looked away first. Nora stood and picked up her purse. "We need your signature by Monday," Grant said. She glanced at the envelope. "Then I guess you should have bought me something." Outside, rain made the street shine like black glass. Nora walked past the restaurant's front windows and saw her own dining room working without her for once. Priya stood at the pass with a pencil shoved through her hair, calling for 2 strip steaks and a salmon. A server hurried by carrying the square white plates Nora had spent 3 months sourcing because Grant disliked the old rims. Behind her, the front door opened. "Nora." Grant came out without his coat. "Don't leave like this." "How should I leave? We drove together. Take your mother home. She has her own car. Then you have choices." He lowered his voice. "I'm not moving out tonight." The rain speckled his shirt. Nora remembered ironing that shirt in their kitchen that morning while he showered. The memory was so ordinary, it felt obscene. "I haven't asked you to," she said. "We can handle this like adults. The marriage and the restaurant don't have to destroy each other. You pawned my mother's ring and bought your Mistress diamonds on our company card. I knew you'd reduce it to 1 sentence. You reduced it to 1 receipt." A car passed, spraying water along the curb. Grant stepped closer beneath the awning. "You haven't worn that ring in almost a year." "I take it off to cook. You leave it on a dish by the sink. The blue saucer. Whatever it is. My mother's saucer." He rubbed both hands over his wet hair. "This is exactly what I mean. Everything in that house is a shrine. Every chipped plate has a story. Every drawer is full of things we're not allowed to touch because Ruth touched them first." Nora stared at him. Of all the explanations she had imagined since Samuel's call, she had not imagined jealousy. Grant saw that he had surprised her and pressed on. "Your mother has been dead for 3 years, and I'm still living around her. So you pawned the ring to make space?" "I did something selfish. I'm admitting that. For a signature. For our future. Tessa's in that future?" He hesitated. That was the unanswered part. He had confessed to the affair, but had not said what he expected Nora to become afterward. Former wife, business partner, payroll clerk with a separate bedroom. Grant reached for her elbow. Nora stepped into the rain. "I'll see you at home," he called. She didn't answer. Samuel Pike's call had come at 3:17 while Nora was counting bottles of Pinot Noir in Juniper's basement. "Mrs. Bell?" he had said. "This is Samuel Pike. I hope I'm not catching you at a bad time." A bottle had been missing from the event count. Nora had been kneeling on concrete with her inventory sheet against a case of seltzer. "What can I do for you, Mr. Pike?" He paused. "I believe we have a piece belonging to you." She had known before he described it. The empty blue saucer had bothered her that morning, but Grant had been looking for his cufflinks. The produce order was late, and Elaine had called twice about changing their reservation. Nora had assumed she had moved the ring while cleaning. Samuel described the emerald, the 6 small diamonds, and the worn place on the band where Ruth's finger had rubbed the gold thin. Who brought it in? "I need to be careful about what I tell you until I speak with our counsel." The gentleman represented that he was authorized to pledge it. "My husband." Another pause, which was answer enough. Samuel told her the ring had already been accepted as collateral. A staff member cleaning it had noticed the engraving and remembered Ruth. Samuel had searched the old files. "Your mother asked us to keep a duplicate appraisal," he said. "She was very particular about that." Ruth had been particular about many things. She kept spare batteries in the refrigerator, labeled frozen soup with painter's tape, and carried stamps in her purse long after everyone else paid bills online. Grant used to find it charming. "Can he redeem it?" Nora asked. "Not while there's a documented ownership dispute. I've placed an internal hold, but I need you to come in with identification." "Does he know?" "Not yet. In the back of a rideshare, Nora watched Grant's location move from Juniper toward Elaine's neighborhood. He still shared his location with her. The bright dot looked trusting, almost innocent. Nora opened the restaurant's banking app. The available balance was lower than she expected by $4,913. She scrolled until she found Pike Fine Jewelry, followed by a series of numbers and the word retail. She took screenshots and sent them to an email account Grant didn't know about. At home, the kitchen lights were still on from that morning. The blue saucer sat beside the faucet, holding a damp teabag string and nothing else. Ruth had bought it at a church rummage sale because the glaze matched her eyes. One edge had been chipped when Grant dropped a cast-iron lid during their first year of marriage. He had apologized for 10 minutes and searched online for a replacement until Ruth told him, "A dish that belongs somewhere is allowed to look used." Nora emptied the tea bag into the trash and rinsed the saucer. She dried it with the towel Grant always left bunched on the counter. The household file box was in the office closet, taxes in green folders, insurance in red, warranties in blue. Ruth's appraisal should have been inside a gray envelope marked "Personal Property." The envelope was gone. Nora checked every folder, then the desk drawers. In the wastebasket beneath the shredder, thin curls of cream paper clung to plastic and dust. One strip carried the top half of a blue P. Another read 18 karat. Grant had not merely taken the ring in a moment of panic or desire. He had opened the closet, found the file, removed the appraisal, and stood at Nora's desk, feeding evidence through the shredder. Then he had come downstairs and eaten the turkey sandwich she made him. The front door opened at 11:42. Grant dropped his keys onto the blue saucer. Nora was sitting at the kitchen table with the unsigned loan envelope in front of her. He looked at the envelope, then at her. "Mom thinks I should stay with her tonight. What do you think?" "I think leaving makes this more dramatic than it needs to be." He opened the refrigerator and stared inside. "Did you eat?" "Yes." It was a lie, but the fact that he asked nearly undid her. He took out a container of lentil soup marked Staff Friday and peeled back the lid. "That's for family meal tomorrow," Nora said. Grant put it back. "Fine. You shredded the appraisal." He closed the refrigerator slowly. "I didn't think we needed it." "You needed the jeweler's name. I remembered Pike's. You've never remembered where we get your shirts altered. That's different." Apparently. Grant leaned against the counter, careful not to touch the saucer. "I plan to redeem the ring." "With what money?" "The expansion will increase revenue. The expansion that doesn't exist yet. I was going to handle it." "You couldn't handle buying earrings without stealing from me in the restaurant." He flinched at stealing. Nora saw him choose not to argue with the word. "Tessa was going to walk," he said. "From the lease?" "From me." There was something almost pathetic in the admission. Grant, who could charm a food critic through an overcooked pork chop, had panicked because a woman might leave him. He had reached for the most valuable thing within arm's length, and it had belonged to Nora. "She said I kept making promises and never choosing her," he continued. "The earrings showed her I was serious, and tonight showed me that I'm done lying." Nora looked at the loan papers. "Are you leaving me?" Grant pulled out the chair across from her but didn't sit. "I don't know." "Does Tessa think you know?" His eyes moved toward the dark window. There it was again, the strange shape he had made for himself, with two women waiting in separate rooms while he decided which door felt more flattering. "We have payroll in 4 days," he said. "The liquor invoice is due Tuesday. Whatever happens with us, we need to keep Juniper stable." Nora nodded as though he had said something useful. Relief loosened his face. "I'm going to shower," he said. "We can talk in the morning." He left his keys on Ruth's saucer and walked upstairs. Nora waited until the pipes began to knock in the wall. Then she opened her laptop. First, she downloaded the current payroll report, vendor balances, event contracts, deposit ledger, and the last 12 months of card statements. She did not change a figure. She did not move a dollar. She copied what already existed and recorded the time. Then she opened the restaurant's password manager and made sure Grant had his own access to every account she had been handling for him: wine distributor, linen service, pest control, reservation platform, music license, the bakery that delivered the little rye rolls Elaine liked to take home in paper sacks. Nora wrote a short email. Grant, effective tomorrow, all restaurant purchases need to be made on company credit. I will no longer use personal funds for operating expenses. I'll complete the upcoming payroll cycle and provide a written list of open items. I won't sign new debt or guarantees while our financial position is under review. She read it once and sent it. Upstairs, the shower stopped. Nora went to the security panel by the pantry. 4 people had permanent codes: Nora, Grant, the cleaning service, and Elaine. Elaine's code was Ruth's birthday. Nora pressed delete user. Her phone rang before Grant came back downstairs. Elaine's name filled the screen. Nora turned the blue saucer upright, set Grant's keys on the counter, and answered. "Did you change my code?" Elaine demanded. "Yes," Nora said. "Why?" Nora looked at the empty place where her mother's ring had rested. "Smart housekeeping." "Don't be cute," Elaine said. "I have things in that house. You have a raincoat, 2 casserole dishes, and a bottle of gin you hide behind the flour. I don't hide it. Then you'll have no trouble asking before you come get it." Grant entered the kitchen barefoot, rubbing a towel over his hair. He had changed into the gray t-shirt Nora bought him after he complained that all his shirts were either for work or too ugly to sleep in. "Is that Mom?" Nora held out the phone. He didn't take it. "Put her on speaker." "No." Elaine was still talking. "I've had a key to every home Grant has lived in. This one has a keypad. You know what I mean." "I do." Nora ended the call and set her phone face down. Grant stared at her. "You changed her code at midnight?" "At 11:58. This is vindictive. She laughed when you told me you pawned my mother's ring. She was uncomfortable. So was I." "I didn't laugh." Grant dropped the towel on the counter. "You sent me an email about restaurant purchases." "Yes." "We're in the same house. You were in the shower. You could have waited 5 minutes. I've waited 7 years for you to learn the linen password." He looked toward the stairs, perhaps considering another shower. "You're not resigning." "I didn't say I was." "You said you'd provide a list of open items. That sounds like resignation language." "It sounds like a list." "We own a restaurant together, Nora. You can't decide in the middle of the night that you're done doing your part." "My part is 40%. I've been doing closer to 90. "That's ridiculous. Then the difference should be easy." His face changed. Not much, just a small pull at one corner of his mouth. Grant could absorb insults about his character more easily than questions about his competence. Nora picked up the loan package. "I'm sleeping in the guest room." "So now you're leaving the bedroom?" "You brought another woman into it 8 months ago." He didn't follow her. The guest room smelled faintly of cedar because Elaine had insisted on storing winter blankets in a chest beneath the window. Nora moved a stack of decorative pillows to the floor and lay down fully dressed. Through the wall, she heard Grant open cabinets in the kitchen, then close them harder than necessary. At 12:20, his footsteps crossed the hallway. He stopped outside the guest room door. Nora held her breath. The floor creaked once. Then he went into their bedroom and shut the door. Pike Fine Jewelry opened at 10. Nora was waiting across the street at 9:53 with coffee cooling between her hands. Samuel unlocked the brass door and waved her in before turning the sign. He was a narrow man with silver hair combed straight back and a magnifying loop hanging from a black cord around his neck. Nora remembered him as younger, though she supposed everyone attached to Ruth remained younger in memory. "I'm sorry," he said. The store smelled like glass cleaner and the lemon candies Samuel kept in a bowl by the register. He led Nora to a desk behind a half wall and brought out a paper file thick enough to embarrass Grant's shredder. Samuel placed the appraisal on a green felt pad. The first page showed the ring from above. Ruth's emerald dark at the center. the 6 diamonds arranged like small pieces of light. The second page showed the inside of the band. Keep your place. RB to NB. Nora touched the photograph, not the paper itself. She added the initials when she had the prongs repaired, Samuel said. She asked me if engraving would lower the value. Then she said she didn't care. That sounds like her. The appraisal is 12 years old. It lists replacement value at $21,800. That isn't necessarily what it would bring at sale. He got $7,400. Samuel's mouth tightened. Collateral loans are based on quick resale risk. Can I see it? He hesitated, then went through a door behind the desk. He returned carrying a clear evidence pouch. The ring inside looked smaller than Nora remembered. A white inventory tag had been looped through the band. Nora's body leaned toward it before she did. I can't release it while the pledge contract is active, Samuel said. Our attorney is reviewing the ownership issue. Your husband represented that you authorized him to use it. Did he put that in writing? He signed an ownership declaration. Nora laughed once. Of course he did. Samuel laid another page beside the appraisal. I can give you a certified copy of your mother's file. I can't provide his transaction documents without legal process or his consent. I'm telling you this because I don't want to promise more than I can deliver. Will you give the ring back to him? Not while you're disputing ownership, but you should speak with an attorney promptly. The longer this remains unresolved, the more complicated the fees and contract dates become. Nora looked through the plastic. A pale smear crossed the emerald where her thumb usually rested. Did he buy the earrings here? Samuel's eyes moved to the computer screen. There was a retail transaction the same day, part cash, part card. I can't discuss the customer's payment details. The charge is on my company account. That brought his eyes back to her. I see, he said. Samuel printed 2 certified copies of the appraisal and put them in separate envelopes. Before Nora left, he handed her one of the lemon candies. Your mother used to steal 4 of these at a time, he said. She said you wanted people to take them. I wanted people to take one. Nora unwrapped the candy outside. The sugar caught between her teeth, painfully sweet. At Juniper, the produce delivery blocked half the alley. Priya stood beside 6 crates of fennel, arguing with the driver about bruised pears. You're late, Priya called when she saw Nora. I didn't know you were timing me. I time everybody. It keeps me young. Priya shoved the clipboard toward the driver. Take back the pears. I wouldn't poach those for an enemy. Inside, Grant was in the office with Elaine. Elaine had brought her own calculator, a yellow legal pad, and the gin from behind Nora's flower. Nora put her purse in the locked bottom drawer of her desk. Elaine glanced up. I see I'm no longer welcome in your home. You got the message. I've been asked to help with the books. By whom? Grant sat behind Nora's computer. By me. You don't have authority to replace me. I'm not replacing you. Mom is reviewing expenses. Elaine tapped one pink fingernail against the calculator. There is a shocking amount of leakage. The gin is yours, Nora said. Elaine pushed the bottle behind her handbag. Grant turned the monitor toward Nora. Coffee service needs a new card. Use the Juniper card. It's at the limit until the payment clears. That's why they charged my personal card last month. We need coffee by tomorrow. The distributor takes bank transfers. I don't have the login. Nora pointed to his phone. Password manager. Grant's eyes hardened. Can you please just handle it? The old reflex rose so quickly, Nora nearly mistook it for a decision. Open the account. Pay the invoice. Keep the dining room stocked. Deal with the marriage later, after the dinner rush, after payroll, after the private party on Sunday. Instead, she said, I can show you where the password is. Elaine looked from one of them to the other. This is childish. Grant stood so abruptly, the desk chair struck the wall. Fine, show me. It took him 3 attempts to open the password manager because he had forgotten the master phrase he chose himself. Nora did not reach for the phone. On the 4th attempt, the app opened. There, she said. You could have done this in 30 seconds. It took you 2 minutes. You'll get faster." Someone knocked on the office door. Tessa Vane stepped in wearing a camel coat, her dark hair pinned in a loose knot that looked accidental until Nora noticed every pin matched. The diamond earrings were visible before Tessa removed her sunglasses. They were long drops, each with 3 stones. Too formal for 10 in the morning, too deliberate to be mistaken for anything else. Tessa saw Nora, then Elaine, and paused. "I can come back." Grant's voice softened. "You're fine." Nora had heard him use that voice with nervous investors and unhappy reviewers. She had never known he took it home to someone else. Tessa touched one earring. "Grant said we were meeting about the revised build-out numbers." "We are," Elaine said, gathering her papers. Nora was just leaving. Nora remained beside the desk. Tessa's hand fell. She was not embarrassed exactly. Alert was closer. She watched Nora the way a person watched a door that might swing unexpectedly. "Those are beautiful," Nora said. Grant moved between them without seeming to. Tessa gave a careful smile. "Thank you. My mother paid for them." Tessa's smile disappeared. Grant said, "Nora, she should know." "Know what?" Tessa asked. Nora looked at Grant. "You didn't tell her?" His silence was suddenly useful. Elaine snapped her legal pad closed. "This is a place of business." Nora nodded toward the earrings. "Apparently." Tessa's face flushed, but she did not take them off. "Grant told me the two of you had been living separate lives for a long time." "Did he tell you we had separate jewelry boxes?" "He said the marriage was over in every way that mattered." Grant stepped closer to Tessa. She moved half a step sideways, a small correction that he noticed. Nora could have told her about the pawn ticket, the engraving, the blue saucer. She could have made the ring vivid enough that Tessa would feel it hanging from her ears. But that would have turned Ruth into an argument between 2 women, while Grant stood in the middle pretending to be the prize. Instead, Nora opened the bottom drawer, put the appraisal envelope inside her purse, and locked the drawer again. "I'll finish payroll," she said. "After that, all routine operations go to Grant." Priya was standing in the hallway with a tray of ramekins. She looked at Nora, then at Grant and Tessa, then at Elaine's calculator. "What did I walk into?" "A management transition," Elaine said. Priya frowned. "To who?" Grant straightened. "Nothing is changing in the kitchen." "That is not what I asked." Nora carried the tray from Priya's hands. "Your pears were bruised." "Criminally. I'll call the supplier." Grant gave a humorless laugh. "I thought you were done doing favors." "It's an open item." The rest of the morning became a test of what counted as open. A wedding party wanted to add 14 guests. The dishwasher repair company needed someone to approve a $600 part. A wine delivery arrived with the wrong vintage. Nora wrote each issue on a shared list, added the appropriate contact, and assigned Grant's name. At 1, he cornered her beside the service bar. "You humiliated Tessa." "She's still wearing the earrings." "She didn't know about the ring." "She knew about me." "She believed we had an understanding." "Did you tell her the understanding was our marriage?" Grant looked toward the dining room where Tessa sat with Elaine over floor plans. "You're angry with me. Don't punish the business." Nora kept her voice low. "I'm not punishing it. I'm letting you run it. You know I handle guests, menus, investors. You handle operations. I handle whatever you don't want to notice." That division worked. For you. He put both palms on the service bar. "What do you want, Nora?" The question landed harder than the confession. Not because she lacked an answer, but because Grant had waited until his comfort was threatened to ask. "I want a copy of every expense Elaine reviews," she said. "I want Tessa's earrings reimbursed to the company by Friday. I want no new lease commitments, deposits, or equipment orders without my written approval. You own 40%. And you need my guarantee." His face closed. That afternoon, Nora called Miriam Chen, an attorney recommended by Juniper's accountant, after a vendor dispute 2 years earlier. Miriam could see her at 4:30. Her office was above a pharmacy and contained no impressive shelves, only 2 metal filing cabinets and a plant that had grown sideways toward the window. Miriam read the appraisal, the card statement, the operating agreement, and Nora's notes from Samuel. The appraisal helps, she said. It documents the ring before the marriage and identifies you. It doesn't solve everything by itself. I know. Good. People bring me one piece of paper and expect it to behave like a thunderbolt. What does mine behave like? A very solid piece of paper. Miriam advised Nora to preserve records, avoid signing the refinance, and communicate in writing. Recovering the ring could require a formal property claim if Grant refused to cooperate. The company charge for Tessa's earrings mattered, but it had to be handled carefully because Nora was also an owner. Can he lock me out of the business accounts? Nora asked. He shouldn't. Has he? Not yet. Miriam looked over her glasses. Change the passwords on your personal accounts tonight. Leave the company systems alone. The consultation fee came from Nora's savings. She felt the amount leave more sharply than the thousands Grant had spent, because this was money she had chosen to use against the life she had built. When she returned home, Elaine's car was in the driveway. Nora entered her code and found Elaine at the office desk, opening the gray property folders one by one. Grant stood by the window with his arms crossed. "What are you doing?" Nora asked. Elaine closed the folder, looking for the insurance policy on the restaurant equipment. "In my personal files?" Grant let me in. Nora turned to him. "I revoked her access." "You revoked her code," he said. "I used mine." The difference pleased him. She could see it. Her laptop sat open on the desk. The appraisal envelope lay beside it. Nora picked it up. The seal had been torn. "I was trying to see what Pikes thinks the ring is worth," Elaine said. "It isn't yours. Neither is this house solely yours, but you're acting like a prison warden." Grant stepped between them. "Mom's helping me figure out how to stabilize things. By searching my files, I told her she could." Nora looked at the man who had once spent an entire Saturday replacing the lock on Ruth's back door because Elaine had entered with an old key and rearranged the pantry. He had understood then. Or he had wanted Nora to believe he did. Her phone vibrated. An automated message from the restaurant's accounting service filled the screen. "Your administrator access has been removed." Nora looked past Grant at Elaine's calculator on her desk. "Did you authorize this too?" she asked. Grant's expression held for a second, then gave way to something colder. "You said you wanted me to run the restaurant," he said. "I'm running it." Nora set the torn appraisal envelope on the desk between them. "Get out of my office," she told Elaine. Elaine looked at Grant. That small movement hurt more than open defiance. She was asking the person she considered in charge. Grant said, "Mom, give us a minute. I'm not leaving while she's in this state." "What state?" Nora asked. "The state where you think cruelty is strength." Nora picked up Elaine's legal pad. The first page listed household expenses in Elaine's square handwriting. Under Ruth's ring, she had written idle asset. Beside the restaurant card charge, relationship development. Nora held it out. "Take your work with you." Elaine snatched the pad. "When this restaurant fails, remember that you chose revenge over common sense. Take the calculator, too." Elaine swept it into her bag and walked out. A moment later, the front door slammed. Grant remained by the window. "You can't order my mother out every time she says something you don't like." "I ordered her out because she searched my files. I gave her permission. That's worse. It's my office, too. You haven't used that desk since we bought it. Ownership doesn't depend on use. You made that point about the restaurant." Nora closed her laptop. "Give me back my administrator access. You said routine operations were going to me. I didn't surrender access to a company I own. You're either working or you're not. You don't get to hover over everybody's shoulder waiting for mistakes." He had prepared the sentence. Nora could hear Elaine in its clean edges. "I want copies of the books. You'll get monthly reports. I want direct access. And I wanted a partner who didn't threaten the restaurant because her feelings were hurt." Nora stared at him until his eyes dropped to the appraisal. "You called Pikes," he said. "They called me." His head came up. "Why?" "The engraving." For the first time since the dinner, fear crossed his face without disguise. "What did they tell you?" "That my mother kept records." He glanced toward the hall where Elaine's car was backing out. "I was going to redeem it." "You keep saying that as if a future intention changes a completed act. How much did they tell you?" Nora slid the appraisal into her purse. Enough. She carried her laptop, personal tax folders, insurance files, and Ruth's remaining papers into the guest room. Grant watched from the doorway but did not stop her. When she locked the door, he laughed softly. Very mature. The next morning, Nora's key still opened Juniper's back entrance. Her passwords opened nothing else. The reservation platform rejected her. The vendor portal rejected her. Even the music account informed her that her user profile no longer existed. Grant had spent hours removing her from systems he once claimed were too confusing to learn. Priya was trimming leaks at the prep counter. "Payroll emailed me," she said. "Direct deposit hasn't been submitted. It isn't due until noon tomorrow." Elaine told Marco it was already done. "It isn't." Priya set down her knife. "Can you do it?" "I've been locked out." "That's not an answer I can put in the stockpot." Grant is the administrator now. Grant thinks passwords are a form of personal criticism. Nora almost smiled. Priya didn't. "People are nervous," she said. "He told the staff you're stepping away." "I am stepping away from unpaid operations. I'm not stepping away from ownership." "That distinction doesn't buy groceries." Nora felt the words where Priya intended them to land. "I'll make sure payroll is released," she said. "So you can get in?" "No. Grant can let me in." He arrived 40 minutes later with Elaine and 2 coffees. Neither was for Nora. When she asked for temporary payroll access, Grant folded his arms. "I thought you wanted me to run it." "I want the staff paid." "So do I." "Then submit payroll." "Mom is reviewing the numbers." Elaine put her coffee beside the keyboard. "There are irregularities." "What irregularities?" "Several event deposits don't match the dates of the events. Deposits are recorded when received, not when the event happens. That's an odd system. It's basic accounting." Grant stepped between them. "If you know how to fix it, fix it." "Restore my access." "For payroll only." "And bank reconciliation." "You said payroll." "I can't verify payroll funding without the bank." Elaine shook her head. "This is how she does it, Grant. Every task comes with 3 more things only she can do." Nora looked at Priya in the doorway, then at the prep cooks, pretending not to listen beyond her. "Payroll and bank reconciliation," Grant said. "Temporary access." He restored it while Nora watched. Elaine hovered over his shoulder, correcting the spelling of Nora's last name, as though he had not shared it for 10 years. The bank balance was lower again. 2 event deposits totaling $18,000 had been moved from Juniper's operating account 3 days earlier. The transfer memo read Clark Build-Out. Nora turned the monitor. "What is this?" Grant reached for the mouse. "Preliminary design fees." "For which location?" "The new one." "The location on Clark that Tessa replaced. The work is transferable. Did the event clients authorize their deposits to fund an expansion?" Elaine said, "Money is fungible. Payroll isn't." "There's enough coming in this weekend," Grant said. "If nobody cancels, if no equipment breaks, if every card settlement arrives on time. You always keep too much cash idle." Nora heard Ruth again in Grant's anniversary toast. Useful things shouldn't sit in drawers. Grant had turned impatience into a philosophy. She calculated the exact payroll amount and transferred only enough from Juniper's tax reserve to cover the shortage, documenting the temporary move in the ledger. It was an ugly choice. Missing payroll would punish the staff. Touching the reserve gave Grant another week in which to pretend his numbers worked. "Put it back by Friday," she said. Grant leaned against the desk. "We have a private party Thursday." "The deposit already paid for a second restaurant that doesn't exist." "Submit payroll, Nora." She did. Before logging out, she downloaded the transfer record and Elaine's new expense report. Elaine had changed the Pike jewelry charge from relationship development to owner distribution, Nora. This says I took the earrings as a distribution. Elaine blinked at the screen. That must be a coding error. You entered it at 7:14 this morning. Then correct it. Nora created a journal note disputing the entry and attached the card receipt. I just did. Grant's phone began ringing. Tess's name appeared on the screen. He declined it. Priya watched Nora come out of the office. Is everybody getting paid? Yes. So you still handle payroll. For today. Priya wiped her hands on her apron. Grant said you agreed to stay through the transition. I agreed to process one payroll. He told the room something different. Nora looked through the pass. Grant stood in the doorway behind her, phone in hand. She's helping us stabilize, he said, exactly like we discussed. We didn't discuss that. His expression was patient enough for an audience. Nora, you just spent 2 hours reconciling the bank because you moved event deposits into an abandoned build-out. The kitchen went quiet except for the stock simmering under the hood. Grant's patience cracked. Can we not do this in front of staff? You started it in front of staff. Priya put down her towel. I don't care who slept with who. I care whether I have a restaurant next month. Elaine appeared beside Grant. You will if certain people stop creating panic. Nora gathered her coat and purse. As she left, Grant called after her, Thanks for staying on top of payroll. He had found the cruelest possible way to say it. By Thursday, Nora's phone had become Juniper's unpaid emergency line. The linen company wanted confirmation for the retirement dinner. A server needed the access code for the scheduling app. The dishwasher technician had not received approval for the part. Nora forwarded each message to Grant and copied Elaine. At noon, the wine distributor called. Grant told us you're no longer authorized, the representative said, but the account guarantee is still in your name. I know. He wants the delivery increased for tonight's party. Did he provide payment? Not yet. Then follow your credit policy. There was a pause. He said you would say that. I usually do. The delivery did not arrive. At 6:20, Grant called her directly. We have 48 guests and no Sauvignon Blanc. You have 12 bottles in reserve. Elaine promised 6 cases. Then Elaine should find them. This is your client. It was my client. You removed me from the event account. You know the bride's sister. Nora closed her eyes. It's a retirement dinner. You know what I mean. Use the 12 bottles and offer the Pinot Grigio at the same price. We'll lose money. You lost money when you spent their deposit. Grant lowered his voice. Are you enjoying this? No. That was what made it difficult. She could picture the service bar, the guests arriving wet from the evening rain, Priya cursing at the printer, the servers searching for bottles that did not exist. Nora wanted to drive there and make the room work. Her body had been trained by years of small emergencies. Instead, she stayed at the guest room desk and listened to Grant breathe. Tessa's lease option expires tomorrow, he said. Then let it. You understand what that does to me? I'm beginning to. He hung up. At 9, Priya sent Nora a photograph of the dining room. The tables were full. Wine glasses held Pinot Grigio. The message beneath it read, We survived. Don't get smug. Nora replied, Never doubted you. She cried afterward quietly and with surprising anger because the room looked beautiful without her. Miriam's preservation letter reached Grant on Friday morning. It demanded restoration of Nora's company access, copies of all financial records, reimbursement of the jewelry charge, and cooperation in returning Ruth's ring. Grant arrived home at lunch carrying the letter folded into quarters. You hired a lawyer. Yes. You made this official. You signed an ownership declaration at a pawn counter. I panicked. For 45 minutes. Is that how long it took to buy the earrings? He threw the letter onto the kitchen table. Pikes won't let me redeem the ring. They shouldn't. I have the money. From where? He didn't answer. Nora looked at the blue saucer. Grant's keys had not touched it since the night of the anniversary. He kept them in his pocket now. If I redeem it and give it back, "Will you stop this?" he asked. "Stop what?" "The lawyer, the record's demands, threatening the expansion. You want to exchange my own ring for my signature. I want to repair something. No, you want to reset it." His phone buzzed. He glanced down and Nora saw Tessa's name before he turned the screen away. "You should answer," she said. "She's upset about the lease." "Only the lease?" Grant pushed the phone into his pocket. "She knows about the event money." "How?" "The architect sent her a receipt. She thought I was funding it personally." "You told her you were?" "I told her it was handled." The front door opened without a knock. Elaine walked in carrying 2 grocery bags. Nora stared at her. Elaine held up a key. Grant had a spare made. There was no triumph in Grant's face this time, only exhaustion, as if Nora had forced him to violate the same boundary twice. "Take it back," Nora said. "It's his house, too," Elaine replied. Grant did not move. Nora looked at him. "Take it back. I need her help." "With what?" "With all of it." Elaine set the bags on the counter. One tipped, and a bottle of gin rolled out, striking the blue saucer hard enough to spin it. The saucer slid toward the edge. Nora caught it before it fell. Grant watched her holding the chipped dish in both hands. "I can't keep doing this," he said. Nora set the saucer safely in the cabinet above the sink. "Then don't," she said. She took her coat and went to Juniper to collect the few personal things still in the office. Priya was alone at the prep table, surrounded by printed payroll reports. She did not look up when Nora entered. "I owe you an apology," she said. Nora stopped. Priya pushed a flash drive across the steel surface. "I back up payroll every Friday because Grant once deleted a whole quarter while trying to install a font." "What did you find?" Elaine changed the dates on 6 expense entries. She moved the Pike charge into your distributions and relabeled the Clark transfers after you reconciled them. Nora picked up the drive. Priya finally met her eyes. "She's making it look like you took the money." Before Nora could answer, the office door opened. Tessa stood there without the diamond earrings. She held a small paper bag from Pike Fine Jewelry. "I think," she said, looking at Nora, "we need to compare what Grant told us." Priya looked from Tessa to the paper bag. "If there's going to be yelling," she said, "take it out of my kitchen." "There isn't," Nora said. Tessa entered and closed the office door behind her. She placed the Pike bag on the desk, then removed a return receipt and folded it flat with both hands. "I gave the earrings back," she said. "The card portion is being refunded to Juniper. Pike's is holding the cash portion while their attorney figures out who receives it." "Why?" Nora asked. "Because I'm not wearing stolen property. You knew he was married. I knew he was married on paper." Nora's face must have changed because Tessa lifted one hand. "I know how that sounds." "It sounds exactly how it is." Tessa accepted that. "Grant said you had agreed to stay business partners until the second restaurant opened. He said you didn't want the divorce public because it would complicate the loan. And you never asked me?" "I didn't want to meet you." The honesty surprised Nora. Tessa looked down at the receipt. "Meeting you would have made me responsible for whatever I saw." Priya, leaning against the prep sink, said, "That is almost self-awareness." Tessa gave her a tired look. "I'm not asking anyone to like me." "What are you asking for?" Nora said. "My firm's name is attached to the lease option. Grant told the architect he was funding design work personally. Yesterday, the architect sent me a receipt that identified Juniper's operating account." "Event deposits," Nora said. "Yes." Tessa took out her phone. "I have messages. He called the earrings a commission thank you when he needed an explanation for the charge. He told me they were personal when he gave them to me. He also said your guarantee was a formality and you'd already agreed." "I didn't. I know that now." Tessa emailed Nora screenshots while Priya copied the payroll backup onto Nora's laptop. The messages arrived in batches. Grant promising the marriage was finished, Grant claiming the expansion funds were secure, Grant complaining that Nora controlled money by insisting bills be paid before he spent it. One message read, "The ring is mine as much as hers. That's how marriage works." Another. Mom agrees this is the cleanest way. Nora stared at Elaine's inclusion. Even in private with his mistress, Grant had needed his mother's permission. Tessa put her phone away. I'm withdrawing from the lease deal. Because of me? Nora asked. Because of him. Because my firm won't let me collect a commission on a deal funded this way. Priya picked up the Pike bag. Do you want your lemon candy? Tessa blinked. There's a lemon candy? There's always a lemon candy. For one startled second, all three women laughed. Tessa took the bag from her. I should go. At the door, she turned to Nora. He told me you stopped wearing the ring because you didn't care about it. He knew why I took it off. Tessa touched her bare earlobe. He knew why I wanted the earrings, too. After she left, Priya returned to her payroll reports. I judged you too fast, she said. You judged the person you thought could fix it. I also believed him because he sounded calm and you didn't. That happens. Priya pulled a face. Don't make me feel better. I hate apologizing. Nora held up the flash drive. This helps. Good. Now get those papers out of my kitchen before somebody marinates them. Miriam arranged the meeting for Monday. Grant wanted it at Juniper. Nora refused. They met instead in the conference room of the restaurant's accounting firm with a humming vent, a scratch table, and a tray of grocery store cookies nobody touched. Grant brought Elaine. Nora brought Miriam, the certified appraisal, Priya's backups, the restaurant statements, Tessa's messages, and Pike's return receipt. The accountant, Martindale, sat at the end of the table. He had handled Juniper's taxes for 5 years and looked personally offended by every altered entry. These adjustments are unsupported, he said, tapping Elaine's expense report. Elaine sat straighter. They were preliminary categorizations. You assigned a jewelry purchase to Nora's owner distribution. I misunderstood which owner benefited. Grant rubbed his forehead. Can we stop making this about bookkeeping? Martin looked at him. You asked me to attend a meeting about company finances. Miriam slid the appraisal across the table. The ring was Ruth Bell's separate property, specifically identified for Nora before the marriage. Grant pledged it as his own, then used the proceeds and company funds for the earrings. Pikes has frozen the collateral contract pending resolution. Grant did not touch the appraisal. I can repay the card, he said. The card refund is already processing, Nora said. Tessa returned the earrings. Elaine's mouth opened. Grant went pale. She did what? She withdrew from the lease, too. He reached for his phone. Miriam said, You can call her after the meeting. Grant stared at Nora. You went to her. She came to me. What did you say? Less than you did. Nora placed a single-page proposal in front of him, an independent valuation of her 40% share, removal of her personal guarantee, restoration of access until the records were corrected, repayment to Juniper of the expansion expenses that had not been approved, a structured buyout if Grant could not pay at once, full cooperation with Pikes, with the ring returned unconditionally. Grant read the page twice. You're trying to take the restaurant. I'm trying to leave it. You know I can't refinance without your guarantee. Yes. The second location is dead. Yes. His voice rose. You say that like it doesn't matter. It mattered enough for you to spend money we didn't have. Elaine leaned toward Nora. Think about what you're destroying. Juniper is Grant's life. Nora looked at her. Then why did you put my name on his jewelry charge? I was correcting a temporary imbalance. You were building a story where I caused it. Elaine's eyes flicked toward Grant. Nora saw the moment he understood. He had invited his mother to protect him, and she had protected him the way she understood protection, by finding someone else to blame. Grant pushed back from the table. I'll redeem the ring and give it to you if you sign the refinance. The room went still. There was the bargain at last, spoken plainly. Her mother's ring for her house, her credit, her labor, her silence. Grant looked relieved to have found something he believed she wanted more than freedom. Nora touched the edge of the appraisal. No. His confidence faltered. You'd let it sit in a safe at Pike's over a signature? I'd let it go before I bought it back from you. "You don't mean that." "I do." For a second, she saw the ring behind plastic, the inventory tag looped through Ruth's worn gold band. The thought of never touching it again hurt with clean force. Then she thought of the empty saucer and how quickly she had begun treating the emptiness as an instruction. Miriam turned to Grant. "If we cannot resolve this privately, the ownership dispute, altered entries, company charges, and unauthorized transfers will have to be reviewed through the available civil and accounting processes. The lender will also need accurate financial statements before considering any new debt." Martin folded his hands. "I will not issue statements based on the books as they stand." Elaine whispered, "Grant, don't sign anything." Grant looked at her, then at the evidence spread across the table. Tessa's screenshots were on top. His own words had reduced his arguments to dates and amounts. "What happens to Juniper?" he asked. Nora answered because nobody else could. "You cancel the equipment orders for the expansion. You sell what can't be canceled. You put the event money back. You hire someone to handle operations and pay them an actual salary. Then you find out whether the restaurant works when nobody is subsidizing it with a marriage." His eyes met hers. "You want me to fail?" "I wanted you to stop making me the reason you didn't." The anger left his face so suddenly he looked older. "I was good at it once," he said. "You're still good with people. You're good with food. You made a room people wanted to come back to. But you thought that made everything behind the room less important." Grant looked down at his wedding band. Elaine said, "You do not have to accept her version of you." He gave a small, exhausted laugh. "Mom, your version is how I got here." Elaine recoiled as though he had struck the table. Grant signed a temporary records agreement that afternoon. He did not sign the buyout until 3 weeks later, after an independent evaluator calculated Juniper's value without the imaginary second location. The number was lower than either of them wanted. To fund the first payment, Grant sold the unused ovens and bar fixtures he had ordered for Clark. Elaine cashed a certificate of deposit and lent him the rest under a written repayment schedule. Miriam insisted Nora review only to confirm it did not touch her interests. The expansion vanished from Juniper's website. Grant hired an operations manager whose salary shocked him. "That's what this work costs?" he asked Nora during their final inventory handoff. "That's the discounted version." He almost smiled. Priya stayed after Grant agreed all kitchen expenses would require her approval, not Elaine's. Elaine lost her office corner, her expense access, and the right to collect takeout without a ticket. She still ate at Juniper on Sundays, but now a server placed a bill beside her plate. Grant moved into an apartment above a dry cleaner. He and Tessa did not recover whatever they had mistaken for a future. Pike released the ring after Grant signed an acknowledgement that he had pledged property he did not own and authorized the loan to be settled from his share of the returned cash and his personal funds. Samuel removed the white inventory tag in front of Nora. "I polished it lightly," he said. "Not too much." Ruth's engraving remained dark inside the band. Nora held the ring in her palm. Did she really take 4 candies? Sometimes 5. He pushed the bowl toward her. Nora took one. The buyout payments allowed her to rent a smaller apartment with tall windows and a kitchen table that fit exactly 2 chairs. A hotel group hired her to coordinate private events after Martin recommended her. Her first paycheck for work she once gave Juniper for free felt less like victory than evidence. Grant called occasionally about a vendor or an old contract. Nora answered when the question belonged to the paid transition agreement. When it did not, she gave him the correct contact and ended the call. The chipped blue saucer moved with her. One night, after a dinner for 6 event managers ran late, Nora stood at her own sink washing a single wine glass. Ruth's ring rested in the saucer beside the faucet. The emerald caught the light whenever she moved. She dried the glass and set it upside down. Then she dried her hands, lifted the ring, and read the worn engraving before sliding it onto her finger. The saucer was empty again, but it no longer looked abandoned. Nora carried it to the table and set it in the place across from her, where the last of the evening light turned its blue glaze warm.